Hey! Welcome to Reliable Source. I'm Jonelle.
And I'm Kirsty, and we're both journalists at Europe's biggest newsroom, BBC News, and we work on the BBC News TikTok account. And every week we sit here and we tell you about the stories that we are the most obsessed with.
This week, would you serve your country and go to war? TikToker Max Balegde says he's not ready.
We are kind of naive to the seriousness of that actually happening.
And why are fake nudes of Taylor Swift circulating online?
I fear that the Taylor Swift story will have both brought it home to younger people, but also made them realise that any one of us could now be threatened and affected by deepfake porn.
Plus, RIP to disposable vapes. This is Reliable Source. KG, would you be prepared to go and serve your country and fight in the war? Are you ready?
I just don't think I've got any transferable skills. I can make a nice TikTok, I can make a nice toasty. I don't think I have any. I don't think I have the skills for the front line.
You'd be a good voice on the tannoy.
I could do announcements.
Yeah, you
I'd
could.
do announcements.
Exactly.
I'd volunteer for that.
Okay, so you'd be very helpful in the war.
Cool.
Well, top military officials in Britain have said that they may need to train a citizen army. And that's because if the potential war did break out, we wouldn't have enough soldiers to defend our country against the likes of Russia.
I saw this in the news, and then I saw literally so many TikToks about people being like, I'm not going.
I've not finished all the series of Real Housewives of Beverly Hills yet. I've got life to lead. I'm busy. I'm gay. I'm northern. I will play them cards.
Hello, my name is Sergeant PD.
Bro, what, fam? Can you not see no one's home?
Get your things
No
ready
one's
for
at
the
yard.
draft.
No one's at yard. No one is at yard.
Calling all my gorgeous people who are absolutely riddled with anxiety. We're fine, okay? We're not going to the front lines. What disability disqualifies you from getting conscripted? Bam. Anxiety. We're fine, okay? That wipes out about 90% of us in this nation not being able to get conscripted. We're good. You're not getting conscripted. Go panic about something else. You're absolutely fine.
I feel like everyone was like, what the hell? Am I actually going to have to go to war? But, do we?
It's got everyone talking about conscription, which is where you legally have to go and serve in the army and protect your country. That's not been said. High military officials have not said that they are going to implement this at all. They did say that there may be need to train a citizen army, which is completely different. And it isn't a joke. It actually is quite serious because we could go to war. But online, if you're on TikTok, you're probably seeing people just having a bit of fun with it. It's a bit of that satire, that sarcasm.
I saw the Cheryl Cole Fight for This Love video. It was like, she trained me for this. Honestly, our generation is actually just the most unserious thing I've ever seen in my life.
It is really unserious, but this is very serious because the UK's Defence Minister has said that we're moving from a post-war world to a pre-war world. So we need to actually prepare for that. And that is quite serious. But let's have a look at what the TikTokers kind of had to say.
Day in the life on the battlefield. So after waking up to the sound of air sirens, I got myself up and had my morning rations of 8 beans and a slice of bread. Usually we're only allowed 6 beans, but I think the sergeant fancies me. After this, I got ready for the battlefield. I didn't get to finish my bronzer though, because I literally started getting shot at. This is what I was wearing for the day. I can't believe they gave us these cargos for free because they are so cute.
There's some really high-end fashion designers in here, and they're thinking of starting a sewing bee. Love that. Do you know how this is going to be so much fun?
Completely get suffragettes, women's rights. Thank you. Revoke my rights. Revoke it and put me back in a kitchen cooking a Vicky sponge. I drafted for war. Are you all right? I don't do well under pressure. I cried during my geography GCSE. I am not the one.
People on TikTok are just eating this up. They are pretending like they are being asked to go to war. They haven't been asked to go to war. And one TikToker, Max Balegde, made this video. He's actually going to be in the studio soon, but let's watch it.
I will not be able to run. I'll get stitch. Honestly, if you're looking for who needs to be on that field, don't look this way. I've not been on a field since PE in school.
So, Max joins us now. Welcome to the Reliable Source studio.
Thank you for having me.
Do you like our studio?
I do. I was just complimenting the little chilly lights.
Oh, yeah.
That is very fancy.
Down to
indeed.
the detail. You know,
Yeah.
you've got the eye
It's
for the
cool.
detail.
That TV.
Yeah. Bigger TV than last season, I tell you that.
Yeah, we've upgraded.
Do you think you have any skills that you can, think that are valuable for the army?
Well,
just to clarify, I make videos on the internet for a living, so no, I don't.
You know what you could do is like some SponCon, like some
I could
ads.
be the jester.
You could be the jester, and you could maybe help with the conscription, getting people
I
involved.
could be, actually.
Ad,
propaganda.
Yeah.
I could be head of propaganda.
Nice. Really nice.
I don't know how well that would go down, actually. But yeah, no, I really don't. But who knows?
So if you had the choice, would you is it a no? It's a no,
What
right?
would your choice be? I feel like we are the generation that were kind of given the nicest upbringing. Like, if you look at like our parents' generation, they were raised by our grandparents, who were raised by their parents. That's how childbirthing works. Yeah, shocking. But like, you know, they experienced like the war, and then it was like the after effects of the war, and then it was like, oh, they didn't really grow up with much, so then we're gonna like teach these, and then by the time it trickles down to us, like we've not had war like in years, like decades. We've never experienced that, so we kind of grew up with like a very nice upbringing that I don't think provides the best training for war.
Yeah, or perhaps we've like heard that there's been wars around the world, but it's been so far away.
Exactly, in the UK.
Yeah, exactly. And you're not alone. Do you know that 38% of under 40-year-olds said that they wouldn't serve?
I'm shocked it's not higher, to be honest with you.
That's according to like a YouGov survey that was done. You're shocked it's not higher.
I just think it's like I said, we are kind of naive, or I am really, to like the seriousness of that actually happening, and it's kind of like I would rather just push it to the back of my mind and, you know, hope that it doesn't happen to us. But when you deep it, the reality is that it really could happen, and that is terrifying to think about.
Why do you think that we're so like? I do find the thing about us not wanting to go to war so interesting, because, you know, like our grandparents' generation, like you said, they were quite like proud that they'd gone to war, and there was a very much like a group mentality of like, yeah, we're gonna go and serve our country, and now we're all like, lol, not me going to war, like me, get ready
so
with
bizarre.
me. We're just so unserious.
I think we're so detached from it, and I think, like I said, we kind of grew up in the era where mental health is like respected for the first time, so we can look back on how things like the war directly impacted like older people in our family, and how that kind of trickles down. So the thought of it is so like, nope, don't want that at all, want nothing to do with it. The best way that like Gen Z know how to deal with it is just make fun of stuff, which is wild. Like a genuine like world crisis will happen, and people will be like, oh my god, not this world crisis.
Yeah,
not this.
I'm gonna step out.
Yeah, like I'm removing myself from this narrative. Like, what? You can't just do that. But we find a way.
Okay, so to understand if conscription could actually be a reality, I spoke to Shashank Joshi. He's the defence editor at The Economist, and here's what he said.
I think it is important that whilst we debunk the idea that people are on the cusp of being thrown into jail if they don't sign up, that's rubbish. It is important we nonetheless acknowledge that there is a war in Europe, that there is a threat from Russia, and that in different ways we all have to understand that this could affect us, even if not through conscription. It could affect us through cyber attacks, through additional defense spending, through disinformation launched by Russia against our countries. So war can still affect you, even if it's not about conscription. But if there was a war with Russia, as improbable as that is, I would say, even in that situation, it is still a relatively low probability event that there would be any kind of conscription in a country like the UK, where we would still rely on our all-volunteer force, on our professional army. We would still look for voluntary recruits. We would call up reservists. So to me, even then, in that extreme situation of a big European war that has dragged Europe in, I think conscription is still a very low probability event, even under those terrible circumstances.
God, it's frightening, isn't it? But it's so true what you're saying. Like, I didn't even think about like the cyber attacks and things like that, and how it could just affect our daily life, even if it doesn't involve like being on the front line.
And if we are spending so much for defence, then other things that are like
are going to take a cut.
That's
wild.
And also, like, when you think about all the memes, I know the memes are obviously just to joke, but like they're all about being in the trenches and having the guns and like wearing your military outfit. And it's like it actually would be so different to that in real life if a war did happen.
That's so true.
It'd be petrifying.
Oh, it would. And I feel like we as a country have not experienced war in this century even. So yeah, I can't even imagine what it would be like.
But yeah, thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, really glad we could allay your fears.
Honestly, I feel so much calmer. Thank you to you too.
So the government has said that conscription isn't being considered and the military service will remain voluntary. So
I'm not volunteering.
if you're looking for your next podcast obsession, we think you might like Murder They Wrote with Laura Whitmore and Ian Sterling.
You can hear some of the wildest, jaw-dropping crime stories on BBC Sounds. Anyways, where were we? So we spoke about deep fakes on this pod before. You know, you mentioned before about the Obama and Ice Spice one where you merge two people's faces and you basically use AI to put someone's likeness into a different AI generated thing. But one darker side of it is deepfake pornography, which is basically where you put someone's likeness into a porn video or picture. And Taylor Swift is the latest victim of them. So her name was actually blocked from X the other day because so many people were searching for this deepfake porn that had appeared of her.
Yep, so one image of Taylor Swift was reportedly viewed over 47 million times before it was removed off social media, and lots of people are talking about it. I've spoken to Professor Claire McGlynn from Durham University. She's an expert in image-based sexual abuse. Here's what she had to say. What is deepfake pornography?
So this is where there's two types now. The first is where someone takes an ordinary image from social media, say my face, and then imposes it into an existing porn video. So the porn video looks like it's me who's the porn actor. The second type now is from generative AI, which you might be familiar with, like ChatGPT. And that's where you would type in words like Taylor Swift porn, and it will produce that pornography from, all the images that it's got on the internet.
And for people that are a victim to it, how are they being impacted?
So it can be devastating. So many victims that I've spoken to and others who've spoken out about this, as soon as they see them in pornography, it's really violating to them. They feel as if their, sexual autonomy has been affected, they've been objectified, and it can then have deep psychological consequences. But also it sometimes brings along lots of harassment and abuse. Sometimes the deepfake porn video is posted online, it's posted on a porn site, and sometimes with people's names. So they then get a lot of abuse and harassment for it. So yeah, it's really quite devastating.
Does this only happen to celebs, or does that happen to normal people as well?
So it started with celebrities because the very early deepfake porn, you needed a lot of images to create the deepfake pornography. But now, no. Lots of ordinary everyday women and girls are being affected by this. There's been quite a few cases in schools where boys in their class have been making nude images of them and sharing it around. So it's affecting everyone now.
Yeah, so the pictures of Taylor were posted on X, which obviously used to be called Twitter, and they were trending on there, and X said it was actively removing the images and taking appropriate actions against the accounts involved in spreading them and monitoring the situation closely.
I asked Professor McGlynn if the problem is getting worse and what you'd need to do to kind of combat this.
Is definitely getting worse because, like I say, a few years ago, you had to really understand computers to be able to work and create a deepfake porn. But now it is really simple and straightforward. I mean, you can type deepfake porn into Google and it brings up, YouTube tutorials about how to do it very easily. But there's also what's called nudification apps where you can upload one image of someone and it downloads within a few minutes a nude of that person. And this is why millions of these images are being created online. One of the deepfake porn websites has 14 million hits a month.
And do you think that the law goes far enough to protect people in the UK?
The law itself has just been changed. So it's very soon it will be a criminal offence to share that deepfake porn. What we've really got to do is get these platforms and search engines to stop facilitating and encouraging this abuse. For example, if you type in deepfake porn, it brings up the deepfake porn websites and tutorials right at the very top of those searches. They don't have to do that. They could downrank it, so it's much harder to find. So the law is there, but we really need these social media companies to act.
And what should people do if they feel like they've been a victim to this?
In the UK, there's what's called the Revenge Porn Helpline. Now, that can help people get material taken down from the internet. You should screenshot, save any images, save any material, just in case you want to complain to the website or to complain to the police, because you are not the only person this is happening to. You're not alone. It's happening right across the board. So don't feel as if you've done anything to deserve this or anything to bring it on.
Wow. And if you or anyone else that you know has been affected by something like this, you can head to BBC Action Line, and there's lots of organisations that can help.
For some of the people listening, I just want to share my thoughts and prayers to you, because we had some big news this week. Finally, after rumours, this has been going on for a long time, and we've finally been told that the government is going to ban disposable vapes. The little plastic little vapes, not the rechargeable ones, not like the metal ones that you plug in and like buy the juice for. The little Elf Bar, Lost Mary, Crystal. There's loads of them. They're everywhere. They're in every shop. Everyone has one in their hand. Smoking area, way to work, lunch break, night out, in the club sometimes, in the house, in the garden. Everyone has these little things in their hand, and not for long. So cigarettes, yeah, people used to smoke here and there, like young people smoking was an issue back in the day. It's very recently that vapes became really popular, and they became really popular. So in 2023, 20.5% of children had tried vaping. Oh my God. And in 2020, that was only 13%.
So wait, I'm confused though, because why is it the death to the disposable vape?
So there's two...
So we could all just vape still, correct?
So the vape hasn't died yet. We will give it a funeral and we'll pay our respects to it in a second. But firstly, let's get the facts in. It hasn't died yet. It will take 6 months after a law is passed for all the shops to like come to terms with it. And like basically the government give you 6 months to like get rid of the vapes.
The manufacturers,
yeah,
because
sort it
there's
out.
a whole food chain.
Yeah. Sort all that out. So there's 6 months at least, but also the law hasn't made it through Parliament yet. So the government think it will be in by 2025. So this ban has been announced for England, Scotland and Wales, but Northern Ireland would have to decide that with their own politicians. But they have said that they are aiming for a smoke-free generation and they're kind of on board. But there's two reasons why this has happened. Firstly, in no particular order, is environmental reasons. So like they're not good for the environment. They're throwaway plastic. People chuck them. I think people put them everywhere. You don't really see anyone recycle their vape.
You do know that you're supposed to give your vape.
Them. Yeah.
You're supposed to recycle them, but they have to be recycled properly. So you're supposed to get, wherever you get your vape, if anyone who's selling it is supposed to accept it back.
But then when people quit vaping, they film TikToks of them like shoving them all in the bin. Like, okay, so that's one reason.
Of the reasons. Okay, that
and the
makes
second
sense.
reason is the health. So it's the fact that particularly like kids are vaping basically. So adults, it's kind of like, you can make your own health decisions. It's obviously not great, but it's the fact that these are so appealing to kids. We know there's the cherry ice, there's the rainbow candy, there's all of these flavours that are literally like, there's the milkshake vapes. We did a TikTok about this with BBC News. They look like a milkshake. And the kids are really loving the vapes. And that is the problem that the government want to tackle. That's why they're banning it. So when we had Max Balegde here earlier, we thought we might as well just ask him about the vapes while we've got him.
I'm on board with it. Like, listen, I am not a person that's ever smoked, so maybe I can't, like, relate to the whole thing. But the way that I observed it from an outsider was people were smoking cigarettes, then vapes were introduced. And I remember thinking, because they came around when I was, like, in high school, and you'd walk into the boys' toilets and there'd be, like, a giant puff cloud of, like, candy floss. And I'd be like, and it was this huge machine back then. They looked like it was literally like
industrial one.
Yes. Yeah. Like, we're in the Industrial Revolution, like, discovering smoke or something. I was like, what is going on? And then that was like, oh, that's cringe. Like, that's weird. Then they made it literally look like toys. Like, if you look at the packaging, I'm even sometimes like, that looks so fun. I'll have one. Like, they look tasty. Like, oh, banana. Like, what they call like cherry ice, vanilla, stuff like that. Like, what? And then when you factor that with the fact that so many children are getting hold of them, that is wild.
As I said, non-disposable vapes will still be around. They can't be advertised to kids. They're going to be in plain packaging. It's just going to be like, if you need to quit smoking, you go and buy one of these refillable.
It's going to taste like anything? Or?
Yeah, I think you can get flavours, but it can't be advertised like pink, like, wow, cotton candy vape. It's not going to be like how it currently is, where they're really colourful. The vape companies, they're not happy with this. On the whole, they're like, guys, we did not need an outright ban. Like, we could have changed the regulations, but you can't just ban all vapes. But the government say that the number of children vaping in the last 3 years has tripled. And they say that this like fun packaging and flavours and stuff and disposable nature of them is the reason for that. So that's why they're ending it. So let's take a moment to remember disposable vapes, because we've had the news, the sad, sad news that they will be banned. Ladies and gentlemen, family and friends, we gather today to bid farewell to disposable vapes, those small companions that once filled our moments with fleeting satisfaction. In light of their recent ban, we acknowledge the changing tides of regulation and responsibility. These unassuming devices, witnesses to quiet exhales and shared connections, have reached the end of their journey. Let us remember the joy and camaraderie they brought into our lives. That was actually written by ChatGPT, but I think it's just as heartfelt of anything that could have come from a human's heart.
Wow.
Really beautiful stuff.
AI could really, make you treasure a moment that you never, well, I didn't really even have, to be honest.
But if you're one of the people that is going to remember those fond memories of, being in the smoking area, pulling out a little vape, giving someone a puff, all those shared memories you've had with the disposable vapes, they will be gone. But as we said, there are reasons for this. But I put this on my Instagram story about the vape ban,
I saw it
right?
on your Insta story.
I put the little thing where you can reply with your thoughts. So let's hear some of the voice notes that people sent me.
I've got receding gums now, so yeah, it's not a vape.
I just feel like I have been freed from the shackles of a potentially health-altering vape addiction.
I don't know. Taylor Swift's out here on a jet, but I'm not allowed my disposable vape for the environment. I don't get it.
If they take the vapes off them, where do they turn to get their nicotine hit? Cigarettes? Is that really what is wanted here?
As someone who used to vape all the time, despite not being a former cigarette smoker, I think this is really, really positive.
They should be cancelled and give us the ick just as much as plastic straws do. And I think good riddance to the disposable vape.
So yeah, a real mixed bag. Some people are fuming.
Yes.
Some people are happy.
There's a bit of self-reflection looking at how often they vape. Am I really, should I be the person that's targeted, or maybe should you only have a certain amount of vapes? But no,
but these things are
scrapped
addictive.
soon.
Like you've got receding gums, but you're still buying a vape. Do you know what I mean? There's psychology there that we need to get into.
We need to get into that.
Honestly, still be buying them. That's why people are happy for the ban. They're just like, oh, thank God, the option's taken out of my hand. Okay, thank you so much for listening to Reliable Source. We will be back every week.
Remember to tap subscribe or follow so you never miss an episode.
And we're everywhere. We're on BBC Sounds, we're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. And we're also on BBC Sounds YouTube channel.
Anyways, until next time,
always get your news from a reliable source.
Bye.